Welcome
to Dark Narratives. I'm Isabella.
And I'm Alexandria. Wrapping present?
Yep, I was wrapping. Got 9 presents wrapped.
Oh, wow.
All the kids' presents
Are you all
wrapped.
done shopping?
Pretty much, yeah. I just have to get 4 presents. I started my Christmas shopping quite a while ago. Well, I guess November, right at the beginning of November.
Did you? Oh, you're smart.
When did you start?
Saturday.
Really?
Last Saturday.
Who have you bought for?
Well, okay. So, do you physically go out shopping or do you usually do online shopping?
Both. I love to go to Marshalls and Winners and Homestead and stuff because I just love the deals there.
Right, you like going shopping. I get it, it drains me. I like being around people and socializing, but I don't know, shopping is just, I don't know, it really exhausts me.
I don't like going to the mall. That's not my thing. I like to go, I enjoy going grocery shopping. And
Crazy.
I know, and mostly I like to just stroll around and see what I can find. And then I love to go to Sun Marshall and stuff.
Yeah, and it's almost exercise, right?
Yeah,
You're out and
and
about.
just getting out of the house and
I was gonna say we
Yeah.
went shopping, Christmas shopping on Saturday, and then
yeah.
at the end we kind of decided to go and have a bite to eat at the keg.
Yeah.
And we sat down we didn't have our kids with
That's
us.
so
We got to drop them off.
fancy.
There was no reservation or anything. So we just sat up at the bar and this guy was sat beside us and he kind of looked like he'd been there for a while. Well, he even told us that, but had a few drinks and
Yeah.
he looked out of
Yeah.
place.
Okay.
He kept kind of trying to talk to us and we were kind of trying to ignore him. And then he ended up telling us he'd been waiting there for 45 minutes for his meal. Who knows what time he actually got there, right? And he was ordering doubles, which are expensive. His steak came, it was massive. He ate it all. And then the bartender came back and asked him if he wanted anything else. And he said, "Oh, I'm just going to go for a smoke. I'll be right back." Never comes back.
No.
And
Are you kidding me?
He said he'd been there for 45 minutes, and the time that my husband and I were there, he'd ordered 3 doubles. And I'm not judging the amount of alcohol, I'm just thinking about the cost of those drinks.
Well, doubles
And
is quite a bit.
he gets his steak, which is massive. He didn't touch his twice baked, too kind of disappointed by. So yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna go out for a smoke," and then never came back.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
What
it
a
was
dick. That's
I know.
funny.
And so I asked the bartender if that comes out of his tip at the end of the night, but he said no. So
Oh, really? That's good.
yeah, they take care of
He
it
eats the
there.
most expensive thing on the plate.
He was eating
Oh
like a
my
king for free.
Yeah. Oh my
Well,
God.
speaking of Christmas shopping, my story today is about Christmas, or it
Okay.
happens at Christmas time. It's Christmas Eve 2014. Everyone is excited for Christmas Day, much like we are now. And for Sameena Imam, this Christmas Eve was extra special because she had a romantic evening planned with a longtime boyfriend, Roger Cooper. You see, her and Roger had been carrying on a secret affair for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and Roger had finally agreed to leave not his wife, but a long-term girlfriend, basically a wife, common law.
Yeah.
He was settled, but not married. He had finally agreed to leave his long-term girlfriend and be with Sameena forever. Tonight, the plan was to celebrate this next
to interrupt you. Is this Christmas Eve?
Yeah. Sorry, this is Christmas Eve. This will be Christmas.
Okay.
Tonight, on Christmas Eve of 2014, the plan was to celebrate this next step in their relationship. However, the two would never get their happily ever after because Sameena's lifeless body would be found just a few weeks later in the new year.
Oh, man.
This case takes place in Coventry, England in 2014, where 34-year-old Sameena Imam lived alone. And I'd just like to add that I'm 34, so this kind of hit home for me because I'm the same age. She was a petite, 5'2", so also kind of similar to myself, just
Oh,
5'2".
wow.
So she was very intelligent, beautiful, and ambitious, working as a marketing manager at Costco. She was very well respected. Her family said that she's the one that they would go to for advice, described as a mentor, guide, and even counselor by her brother.
Wow, just like
She was also,
extremely well-rounded.
yeah, and just kind of down to earth and bubbly. She was also friendly and outgoing. People said they were drawn to her lively and bubbly personality. For the most part, she lived a very average life, working her 9 to 5 job and then going out with friends on the weekend. However, she had a secret that she didn't tell her family about and only just a few of her friends.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years, she'd been carrying on a secret affair with Roger Cooper, a 41-year-old man who was also a manager at Costco. He was the cash and carry manager, so I'm not really
Okay.
sure what the job description was. Also,
Either
just to
way,
note,
they worked like in the same
yeah, they were kind of
vicinity.
higher management in Costco, which we'll find out is a no-no to be dating.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
yeah, and then just to note too, he was 6'4",
Holy, and she's tiny.
either 6'4" or 6'7", somewhere in between there. So he
Wow.
was a really tall guy, Roger. The reason that they were keeping their relationship a secret was, first of all, for the obvious fact that it was an affair and Roger was living with a common law girlfriend. He was basically married. And then
Yeah.
another was that the workplace romances were almost entirely banned, especially among managers. And
Okay.
Sameena valued her job very highly. If anyone found out that she could lose her job, so obviously she
And
didn't
she
want
was
that to
pretty
happen.
high up, so obviously she didn't want to
Yeah,
jeopardize
she's a manager.
relationship and her career. I get it.
Yeah, and I can imagine being a marketing manager for Costco is, I mean, there's a ton of shit they sell. It's
Fuck,
probably
you
a fun
can
job.
buy your own coffin there.
And
Like-
engagement ring.
And your engagement ring. You can do anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I think that would be a fun job to be a marketer or be marketing in for
Yeah.
Costco. So there's a third reason, was that Roger had another girlfriend on
Whoa,
the side.
3?
3, who
So common
also
law
worked at Costco,
girlfriend and then 2
Yeah.
other girlfriends who worked at Costco.
who worked at the same Costco. So he had his live-in common law, basically wife, and then he had Sameena and then a third girlfriend at Costco. But this woman reported to Rogers. He was her manager, which was definitely banned.
Whoa, isn't there that saying you don't shit where you eat?
Yes.
I don't know.
And I was kind of reading about how he kind of liked the power dynamic of it all, especially, I don't know, dating someone that reported to him. Yeah, so this man had not 1, not 2, but 3 girlfriends at once. At once. So 2 of which he worked with. Now, Sameena knew about Roger's one serious girlfriend who he lived with. However, she did not know about the third one that was working with them both. Which, how do you not know that? I don't know. I couldn't keep that up.
Well, that's just crazy that also he's I don't even know if I really have words for what he's got going on here right now. Like, why?
Exhausting.
Yeah. What is the point anyways?
Yeah, because he's not that good looking. So she didn't know about the third girlfriend. So her and Roger had to get out of town often. They would go to Sameena's place a lot. She didn't actually know where Roger lived. They'd been dating for 2 years and she'd never been to his place, obviously, because he had a girlfriend there.
Yeah, no.
It seems stressful hiding this all the time. And after 2 years of sneaking around with Roger, and Roger making empty promises to her all the time, saying he was going to leave his girlfriend for her, Sameena had given him an ultimatum. And she told him that he needed to leave his girlfriend by Christmas Day, in 2014 or she was going to break up with him. And he
That's
agreed.
never ends good. An ultimatum
No,
never
he agreed.
ends in good.
No, they
Oh
agreed.
my
They were
God.
gonna. He told her, okay, I'll leave her. Let's celebrate, making things official. We'll spend Christmas Eve together. Then in the new year, we'll run away together and start our lives. You said we'll have a fresh start in 2015.
Wow.
And this time he really meant it. And he was going to leave his girlfriend. And Sameena was ecstatic. She was like, wow, that really worked. She booked and paid for, by the way, a romantic Christmas Eve getaway at the Malmaison Boutique.
That sounds very fancy.
Very fancy. I Googled it a little bit and it just looked very luxurious, expensive.
Mhm.
It was in Birmingham, England.
She was really gonna treat him to this. She was obviously really excited.
Yes, she paid for it. She booked it. Christmas Eve arrives and Sameena calls her sister and mother and lets them know she'll be arriving on Boxing Day to celebrate Christmas with the family. She didn't tell them that she would be spending the next couple days with Roger because they didn't know about him at this point. Like I
Right,
mentioned,
okay.
she kept that very secret. Even she didn't even tell many of her friends about him.
Oh
Well,
man.
because she was so scared to lose her job. And so she kind of
Like so many layers to this.
yeah, especially with him already basically being, locked
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, she was super excited to get her Christmas Eve celebrations on with Roger. She bought, I have you ever heard of this wine, Bellini wine?
There's like a champagne kind of wine like that,
Oh, okay,
but
that
I
makes
don't know
sense.
for sure.
She purchased this Bellini wine. She got chocolates, she got snacks. So she was really, Bellini wine, chocolate, and snacks.
She was
Sounds
looking
like a
for a
nice
great
night.
night. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that day they both had worked till 4 p.m. They got into separate vehicles, which apparently they did this all the time. They would have similar shifts, and then at the end of them, they would go in their separate vehicles and then meet up. And by the way, she drives a BMW and he drives an Audi, and they work at Costco.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Costco
Sounds
pays
good.
well.
I was gonna say, wow, maybe I should look at that.
You know. So they both worked till 4. They got in their separate vehicles, Roger in his Audi and Sameena in her BMW, and they leave Costco. They drove around far enough for them in their eyes not to seem suspicious, right? Because
Yeah.
they were still kind of sneaking around. So
Mhm.
there's CTV footage of Sameena getting out of her vehicle, grabbing her suitcase, and then hopping into Roger's Audi, and then they head off to Birmingham. Or so that's what Sameena thinks.
And at this point, she thinks that he has left his common law girlfriend and they're going away to
Yes,
be together.
and that is also what we think.
Oh, okay.
So this is an exciting Christmas Eve. They're celebrating. However, he tells Sameena they need to make a quick stop at his brother's house in Leicester, which is an hour detour. Odd,
What
but
the fuck?
yeah, he tells Sameena we need to stop at my brother's house to pick up a Star Wars figurine.
Excuse me.
They go an hour out of the way to Roger's brother's house to pick up this Star Wars figurine that was supposedly a Christmas present from David to Roger. Now, David was his 39-year-old younger brother who stood at 6'7". He's
Oh my God.
ex-military. He was a part-time doorman. He ran a cafe, and he also only had one girlfriend. That's
This is making me
throw that
so
in.
nervous.
They arrive
Oh.
at David's around 5. Roger gets his Star Wars figurine, and off they go to their romantic Christmas.
So wait, they did get to his brother's.
Yes, they got to his brother's. He got it, and they're off to their
Their stupid
romantic
Star
Christmas.
Wars figurine. Okay.
Oh, and also I should say too, on the way to David's house, Sameena called her sister to say that she would definitely be at their place on Boxing Day and that she was just gonna spend it. I don't know exactly what she told them, but she didn't say she was having this romantic
Mhm.
Christmas Eve, Christmas Day with this guy, but she said she
Mhm.
confirmed with her family she for sure was going to be there Boxing Day. Back at Samina's family, Christmas Day comes, it goes. Boxing Day comes, it goes, and no Sameena. So
Oh,
an investigation was launched immediately. It was discovered that Sameena never checked into her hotel room on Christmas Eve.
no.
And this is a
Oh.
weird little thing, but the investigation, when they started it, they called it Operation Ceramic. It's just something I found out when I was digging up
What's
this case.
like immediately?
Yeah, I guess they had
Oh,
the code
wow.
name for this investigation was called Operation Ceramic.
Okay, I like it.
It's just a random little fact, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Christmas Eve. When Sameena and Roger got into a vehicle together, that day, Roger had zero intentions on breaking things off with his long-term girlfriend, nor did he have any intentions on ending it with his other girlfriend that reported to him at work. He very much liked his situation of juggling all these women,
Mhm.
apparently. And that, I think, comes in with the power thing.
Okay. Yeah, I get that makes sense.
Do you know how some kind of shitty guys just feel like,
Oh yeah, 100%. That checks out on why he's got 3 girlfriends and he's the boss to one and
yeah. And he liked it from all
yeah.
accounts. He really
Yeah.
liked having all this. Now that Sameena was giving him these ultimatums, he started to get worried that Sameena was going to say something to ruin his other affairs, and also he started to get worried about losing his job if his work affairs came out. So he was also very threatened by Sameena to lose his job,
Yeah.
and he didn't want his other girlfriends to find out too.
Starting to spiral.
I know. Yes, he had no intentions of actually breaking things off or making things official with Sameena. And she had no idea. She was just thinking that he was taking her ultimatum finally and that they were going to roll off into the sunset. And he was a changed man.
Oh my God, I hate.
It's January 1st now, 2015. Already, Roger is being brought in for questioning. Because side note, if you go missing at Christmas time and people are expecting you,
Mhm.
there's going to be an investigation immediately.
Oh yeah, red flags everywhere. You don't just miss Christmas unless something big has come up. She
She was
specifically told him 2 days later, I will be there. Not even a phone call later to say she's not coming. Of course there's gonna be alarm bells.
Things moved very quickly in this case because, well, they were expecting her literally the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Roger's already been brought in for questioning. The detectives told the family, they told Samita's family to give it a day or so because I guess it's common kind of around Christmas time. She got the time off of work. She's an adult. But the days went by. She didn't show up. She didn't come back home. She wasn't showing up for work after the holidays. She never came back to work.
I think that's
So at
again a
this
major red flag.
huge, especially since how we were saying she really valued her job.
Exactly.
At that point, police took this very seriously. They even broke into her house.
Oh, good.
Yes, and everything was fine. No note. There was nothing that they noticed. The only thing was that her vehicle was missing. After that, the police started sharing information everywhere they could to get more info out. They started sharing information on the news, specifically a show called Crime Stoppers. And I
Oh, okay.
guess that was a really popular show in the UK because again, we're in the UK.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have that show here. I don't think they have.
No,
I
I
don't
just think of like our regular Crime Stoppers, but
like the
like an
hotline.
actual, yeah, like, but an actual show, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, so there was a show. I don't think it's airing anymore, but it was live cases in the UK where cops could go on there and share information about things that were going on just to try to draw in tips. I'm assuming it got shut down probably because there's assholes out there who called in
Yeah,
with fake.
totally. I
And
was gonna say
probably
that's incredibly interesting, but I just don't know how well that would work.
it's not on anymore, but
Hmm.
that was the show that cops turned to share. And having this case on Crime Stoppers actually worked.
Okay.
11 days after her family heard from her, they got a call and someone had spotted an abandoned BMW on a random road.
Oh my God, do you imagine the alarm bells like ding 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 ding?
Her car was located 65 miles away from where she lived.
Well, because she drove away from Costco.
No, she is from Coventry. She left on the CTV footage. Her BMW was left in Coventry. So it was located 65 miles away from Coventry.
What the?
Yeah, it was located far away. And when cops found it, there were no fingerprints on it to the point of it being suspicious. It was wiped down. There were
You're gonna
no
have like
fingerprints.
fingerprints all over that thing. It's a vehicle. Even just your opening, closing the door, your steering wheel, your gear shift, your radio. There's gonna be fingerprints, thousands of fingerprints on there, and there's just nothing. That's so weird.
Or a water bottle or a coffee cup or anything.
Yeah. Wow.
It was completely, basically detailed. There was no fingerprints. There was no purse. And also, the biggest red flag was that the car seat was pushed all the way to the back.
Oh, I wonder why. I feel like that just, who are the tallest people in her life?
Mm-hmm. That was the reason why they brought Roger in for questioning. What you just said, who are the tallest people in her life? And all fingers pointed to this guy who she works with, who she's friendly with, Rogers, because at this point, an affair kind of isn't out in the open just yet.
Right.
Then also on the 24th, when she was buying the Bellini wine and the chocolate, she was seen on cameras around noon at a gas station buying these items. And those weren't in her vehicle either.
Okay.
It was completely wiped. But yeah, the biggest smoking gun was the seat all the way back. And she's just a 5-foot little lady.
That's right. That makes it even more odd. And there's so many things there. The vehicle's very far away from her house. Her seat's all the way back. There's no remnants of her in this car. And nothing she purchased is in there. Like, what the hell?
With all this coming forward now, police were starting to fear that they had a murder on their hands and not just a missing person, which is yikes. However, when they spoke with Roger, he maintained that he went to his brother's to get an action figure. Then he went back home to the house that he shared with his girlfriend. So he got his action figure for Christmas and went back home. They started to poke holes in his story. Investigators, they said, well, there's a phone. We have her phone records. She made a phone call to her sister, with you when she was with you. Because you know how phones, they ping off of cell phone towers?
Yeah.
They could tell, they tracked her phone and they could track her where she went. And it tracked that she was with Roger on New Year's Eve. Their phones
where he said he went.
Yeah, so
her
she
phone
had
came
gotten
to the same. Okay.
Yeah, so because she called her sister on her way to go to his brother's house. Then immediately in the interrogation room, Roger changes his story and he says, oh, yes, she was with me, but then she got really mad. We got into this fight and she stormed off and I hadn't seen her since, and I went to my brother's house, and then he got home and he received a text message, and he showed them on his phone that he received a text message reading, I am fuming. I'm going to go where I am truly cared for. And he thought that she was meaning work, is what he told the investigators.
Okay.
And so the next day he texted her Merry Christmas and there was no reply. That was the end of that interrogation. So they kind of had to let him go.
Yeah.
His story went from no, I didn't see her to yes, I was with her and we had this
huge
fight.
Yeah, she was with me. Duh. I forgot.
Then they hear about Roger's brother, David, and they're like, okay, well, we've got to bring him in because apparently he's part of this now too. On January 4th, his brother David is brought in. He confirmed that Roger came over and got his Christmas present, his Star Wars figurine. I just want to know what figurine it was.
Well, I was going to say too, did they also ask to see this so-called figurine for some reason had to go out of his way to get?
Yeah, I want to know. What do you think it would be?
Darth Vader or something. Or like a Skywalker. I don't know.
Luke Skywalker, a Yoda.
A Yoda? Yeah, something like that. In the box, you can't take it out. I've never seen
Use
Star
the
Wars.
Force. You've never seen a Star Wars?
Nope.
Oh.
Have you? You've watched them?
Oh, yeah.
I've
I
seen
used
every
to.
single Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well.
Uh,
This whole time, David is collaborating Roger's story that he
yeah, because they went and
didn't
talked to the
see.
brother right now, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So he was saying, yeah, Roger and Samina, I did not see them together. She was not with Roger when he arrived at my place to get this Star Wars figurine. However, though, like I was saying, at this point, while they were doing these interrogation interviews, the
Mhm.
cops had gotten hold of Samina's phone records. That's how they were able to poke holes in Roger's story and say,
Like
well, we can see that she made this phone call. We
immediately
like,
crushed his story while he was telling it. That's really cool.
yeah, like I said, like it's 2014. This case moved quickly. These guys are, I mean, they've got to be smart, but they're not, I guess. Didn't think of
Yeah.
everything. They could see that at 4:30, she called her sister's phone records, tracked her movements, and they could see what, like I said, where the phones were pinging off of cell
Right.
phone towers. Wherever you go, your cell phone, if they do a deep dive into it, it'll show what cell towers it pinged off of to
Right.
get service.
Yeah.
So they could tell her exact route on December 24th. They could see, because her phone was on the entire time, they could see that it matched the route Roger had taken from Costco to David's
Jesus.
house. Immediately could track her movements. The same evening that Sameena went missing, they could see that she was with Roger and her cell phone went all the way to David's house.
And he was just fucking lying through his teeth.
Yeah, and then this message too, the one that said, I'm fuming, I'm gonna go somewhere that I feel loved. They could see that that text message was sent from Roger's home
Are
in
you
Coventry
kidding
after.
me?
Yes.
Oh my.
At this point, this is enough to arrest Roger and David for Samina's disappearance. And no body at this point was found, but it's assumed that they murdered her.
Something really serious obviously happened here.
On January 9th, after they had been arrested, David, the brother, asks to speak to and redo his interview because he's realizing that shit has gone sideways. He asks cops to
Can I
redo his interview
redo my
about,
interview?
yeah,
What the fuck?
about what happened that
Okay.
night.
Sure, sit
'Cause,
down.
well, honestly, cops were confused. In a lot of places I read, they were like, okay, we've figured out now that Roger has these multiple affairs and he's involved with Samina. We get that. But David is just kind of a bystander at this point. He'd never
Yeah.
really met Samina. He kind of met her in passing, and they're like, why is he so involved in her disappearance? And they were like, yeah, we want to hear more from you.
Honestly,
What's
I'm
up?
very curious about that too.
He's an ex-military soldier. He's like I said, a part-time doorman. He ran a cafe. He's a very busy man.
Him running the cafe, just, I don't know why, but that just kills me.
Well, he's never been in any legal troubles. Okay, so
Okay.
David, he is like, oh shit is getting real. I need to talk to the cops again. And they're at this point still kind of confused as to why the hell is David involved? What the hell happened? Where is this chick? There's no body, but they're starting to think it's murder. These guys are suspicious as fuck. Don't be
Yes.
suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be.
He says, this lady, I didn't know her. Her name, she died on my sofa. I'm just like,
What?
whoa.
Just
So
just a bomb.
says that to the cops. He says Roger left, and after he was gone, Roger showed up with Samina and then left. And then after he was gone, there was a knock at his door. He thought it was his brother coming back, so he came to the door, and it was Samina looking for Roger. David said he knew Roger didn't want Samina knowing where he lived with his girlfriend, so he wanted to give Roger some time to get away. He then goes on to portray Samina as this crazy side chick demanding to see Roger and that she didn't see him leave his place. Basically painted this picture. She was forcing herself into his place and saying, I want to talk to him. She's pushing her way in. He gives in and he lets her in because he says, oh, I needed to give my brothers this chick is crazy. I need to give my brother some time to get away. I knew he didn't want to see her. He says, I let her in. I offered her some tea, tried to get her to calm down, but she refused and she wouldn't stop complaining loudly. He said that he had really paper thin walls in his flat. She wouldn't stop saying that they had made plans and he was supposed to see me. He goes on to say that he kind of was throwing in little nuggets here and there. He started off with saying that she died on his couch and then his walls were paper thin. And then also he said he had this military kit in his kitchen hanging around because he's an ex-military guy. And apparently there was chloroform in this kit.
Oh, okay. What the fuck? Just casual.
Just casually, so he kind of threw that in there, and he was saying how she wouldn't stop crying and being so loud, and that she was making this scene, and his walls were paper thin, and he was trying to just let his brother get home safely. So he goes on to say that he keeps chloroform in his kitchen, which, like, duh, who doesn't?
That is just actually absurd.
So absurd. He tells investigators that because he's seen it on telly, which is a British way of saying television, which I think is so cute.
I could just hear how that would be, how that would sound. Sound just so innocent almost.
Says because he's seen it on telly, I thought it was okay. I'll just shut her up for a bit because my walls are paper thin. I didn't want her to make any scene and I wanted to give Roger time to get away. So I thought it was a good idea to put the chloroform on a tea towel. And it's not funny, but to put the chloroform on a tea towel and put it across her face to knock her out.
What is happening here?
Accurate. What is happening here?
That is what the fuck. Wait a second. Can I have a do-over interview? And then he's bam. I've got chloroform. I needed this bitch to shut up. She was way too hysterical for me. What the fuck?
Yeah, my walls are too thin. So he says he puts a chloroform on a tea towel, puts it across her face to knock her out. He says, thinking I would buy some time. I didn't know how long they would stay unconscious for. He said this is graphic, but he sat on her lap. He said her arms went up. So he forced them down. Just a couple of breaths. And then I called that was his story.
What?
Mm-hmm. So we're confused, right? Because I was also confused when I heard him. That's what he says. He says she was crying and being hysterical. He wanted to give his brother time to get away. He saw on television that you could chloroform someone. He conveniently had chloroform in his kitchen. But the fact that he says he sat on her lap and then her arms went up in defense, I'm assuming, he forces them down. And then he says just a couple of breaths. And then she was out, I guess. And just a couple of breaths and she was dead. He says, and then he called his brother.
She was dead.
Yeah, he says just a couple of breaths. And then I called my brother.
From the chloroform?
That's what he said.
What? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, sir.
So, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know about chloroform. I
don't know a lot.
Just not sure about this guy.
Yeah, so and then he thought it'd be okay because he saw it on television to knock someone out. So he thought he was just going to give his brother some time to get away. As they questioned the brothers, Roger was emotional prior to David coming forward and saying that he chloroformed Sameena. Before that, his first interview, he said he didn't know Sameena at all. He'd never met her.
Yeah, you said that. That's why I'm like, what? Can I have a do-over interview? Okay, so she died on my couch. Okay.
Taking the complete fall, not incriminating him at all, saying that he accidentally killed her with chloroform.
But just an interview prior, he's like, I didn't even know.
Yeah. Roger, in his interviews, he was very emotional, almost too emotional, too detailed, obviously switching his story up as well. At this point, the investigators were going through the brothers' phones as well.
Yeah.
And David's phone revealed messages in code to his brother They were using Star Wars phrases to communicate.
Fuck off. Are you kidding?
Uh,
Oh
phrases such as Death Star complete, stay on target, look at the size of that thing, and you are expected, Vader.
Are you kidding me?
No.
These fucking losers.
Yeah. They find these Star Wars codes going on while his brother is doing his second interview. His brother said, a couple of breaths, and I called my brother. Then his brother goes on to say, David goes on to say, after that, everything got real crazy. Things were going a million miles a minute. I was like, shit, she didn't wake up, but I tried. I felt for a pulse. I've only seen it on TV, and it was so it sounds so stupid. I'm almost 40 years old, but it was all weird, and the chloroform was so cold in my hand. My hand was
What?
freezing and burning. Then he said he had a friend named Ben who had a van, and he was going to come dispose of Samina's body.
So he was gonna borrow this guy's he was gonna borrow his van, or there was just another guy coming and helping?
Instead of incriminating his brother at all, he's told investigators now that there's a third person, or I guess a fourth at this point, named
Wow.
Ben with a van who's going to come and get
Okay.
Samina's body. So now he's saying that there's this Ben with a van. So he said he put her body in a sleeping bag, and I don't know what happened.
So he left it up to the Ben guy.
Yeah, and he left his brother out completely. As I said, just Roger was not involved. Roger came to his house, got this figurine, and went home. And that was it. And then this chick showed up.
Crazy lady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The cops were looking for this quote-unquote Ben who doesn't seem to exist.
I had the feeling right away that this Ben guy didn't exist.
Yeah, so pretty quickly they were like, all right, this guy's bullshit. Then on January 11th, the cops find out that these brothers own an allotment, which is a large area of land. There was a female friend of Roger's who contacted the police saying, Roger told me to hold on to these keys to this allotment, and she felt uncomfortable about it, especially after all this Crime Stopper stuff, and she knew about the rumors about him and Sameena, and so there was someone that came forward saying this allotment is something you guys should look into. It's suspicious.
No shit.
Also, the cops go and do a search of both Roger and David's house. Mm-hmm. Nothing is found at Roger's house, not even Samina's cell phone. But they know that this text message that was sent saying that she was really mad was sent from his house, but they didn't find it there. They didn't find anything at Roger's house. However, they do a search at David's house, and these fucking dicks put her snacks in their cupboard, in his pantry, where the snacks that she bought. In his fridge was the Bellini wine that she purchased.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, they stole the dead woman's snacks. Who that?
Honestly, I literally could imagine they're just, okay, I'll just take this. It needs to get eaten and drank.
That won't be incriminating at all. So stupid. There's CCTV footage of her buying this. He's already admitted to accidentally killing her, but either way, he's admitted to killing her, and then he takes her snacks. Like, fuck you.
That's such a big just fuck you.
What a weird thing to do, to keep a
dead
really weird person's, especially since I don't know. He admitted this time.
It's such a weird, just dick move.
Shit. They found all of this, which was very incriminating, at David's place. Archaeologists were called out to check out this allotment. They went ham. They got a warrant to check out this land. They went in and they were like, we need to dig because this is suspicious. On January 16th, in a shallow grave, a corner of a sleeping bag was discovered. They pulled up the sleeping bag, Inside the sleeping bag was the body of Sameena Imam. Her body was in an army-issued sleeping bag. And remember, David is an ex-military. He also said that he put her body in a sleeping bag. Her body was in an army-issued sleeping bag, wrapped in a towel, and then he wrapped it in saran wrap.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they put her in a towel, wrapped her in saran wrap, and then put her in this army sleeping bag, dug this shallow grave. And then this is probably the weirdest thing. Under her, where she was buried, there was a sign that said, "Don't wind me up. I'm running out of places to hide the body."
What the fuck?
It was a sign that they hung in, I guess, at somewhere in their on their land, and it was
Oh
it's
my
you know those
God.
ironic signs, super
Oh, yeah.
cringe.
That's super eerie.
It's always been there, and it was just kind of a joke.
Right.
But then that's
Oh, I
where
don't
they
like that.
actually hid her body.
I really don't like.
Weird, and also not even funny, even if you
No,
didn't hid a body.
it's not even. Yeah, no, I don't. Oh, I really don't like that.
They confirmed it was the body of Sameena Imam, which is very sad. And the autopsy, this is where it never actually got confirmed exactly how she died. She
Okay.
did get chloroform. Autopsy results come back that there was chloroform and then also a strange combination of several metallic elements, including arsenic, which we know as poison, antimony, and then 10 mercury.
Okay. I don't know where those would come from.
Several metallic elements, which were basically poisons. He did say that he tried to offer her tea. I don't know. Just in my own mind, I'm thinking, did
No, that's
they
a good point.
try to
Okay.
poison her, or they did poison her and then chloroformed her, or,
Mm-hmm.
because it was never
Yeah.
actually confirmed for sure they chloroformed her and
Oh,
killed
no,
her.
that's a good point. Okay.
It was thought to have given her some kind of a liquid
Yeah.
form of poison.
Right.
The trial lasted 8 weeks.
It's interesting that they chose these forms of killing someone. It is known to be more of a woman.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So that's a little bit.
That's so true.
Yeah,
That
I
is
just
interesting.
find that a little weird.
But here we'll get there because there is a bit of violence. A lot comes out in the trial. Investigators found 3 phones linked to Roger. I'm just assuming probably some to keep his multiple affairs going. But one of them was a burner phone just to talk to his brother. On this burner phone, they found evidence that they had tried to kill Sameena twice before this.
Oh no.
So they had planned this
hate that.
for months.
Oh, that makes me really sad.
Once I read 2 different dates. It was either December 11th or December 13th. They used their Star Wars phrases to communicate, to try to hide what they were doing. It was after the Christmas party. I guess Costco had a Christmas party either on the 11th or the 13th. Roger had texted Sameena in the early mornings asking her to meet her at a hotel. What she didn't know was that David was stalking the hotel to see when she would show up. So again, he's got his brother involved. David was stalking the hotel. She was supposed to drive herself there to the hotel, but she ended up taking a taxi. The taxi dropped her off right at the front door. So David sent encrypted messages to Roger in this Star Wars code, basically saying it was a no-go because the driver, she was in a taxi, so the taxi saw her. She's a few feet away from the door. She was supposed to drive herself there and then park, and then the plan was that David was supposed to abduct her and then kill her. Roger wasn't even at the hotel at all.
Oh my God.
And she showed up, and David is like, fuck. She didn't drive herself. She's got dropped off at the front door. I can't just grab her now. And Roger just ghosted her that evening and just stopped texting her. And she was just kind of left like, what the heck? And little did she know, she escaped being murdered.
Oh my God.
So yeah, they had been planning this for months. They found on December 7th, David had ordered chloroform off of eBay.
Oh my God. What the hell are we allowing to be sold on eBay? Can we
Right?
please not do that?
People are just bidding for chloroform on eBay. I'm going to tell you now what happened because they
Mhm.
got the real stories. As you can probably guess, Roger and David were both full of shit. And this is what
Yes.
really happened on the evening of December 24th. Yeah, December 24th. Sameena and Roger arrived at David's at 5 p.m. on the 24th of December 2014. Sameena was excited to go here because Roger was finally introducing her to someone in his family. And
Mhm.
prior to this, she was very much a secret, and she didn't even know where he lived, nothing. She was
Mhm.
excited to go meet his brother on Christmas Eve. Once they got there, Sameena was immediately overpowered by the brothers. Puts one foot in the door basically, and they just take her down. I mean, remember she's 5'2". They are 6'4" and 6'7". I don't think they needed much. Well, they're giants compared to her. And
Right.
also, she was so trusting. She didn't expect it. But immediately they overpowered her. They chloroformed her and then somehow got the other poisonous mixtures in her. I don't know if they, poured it
At
into her
some
mouth
point,
after
yeah.
or somehow she got this poison in her or she died from the chloroform. It's never been confirmed, or at
Right.
least publicly.
Mhm.
As soon as they killed her, Roger took her phone and hauled ass back home. Just left her dead body there. Goes back to his girlfriend,
Oh my.
his common law.
Right.
And when he gets back home on Christmas Eve to his girlfriend, he texts himself from Samina's phone with that text message where she's
Right.
very upset with him. They've never recovered her phone. So we don't know if Roger ditched it after that. He
It's
definitely
just
brought it back.
lying somewhere.
Yeah, in a
Oh,
landfill
I
or
hate
something.
that.
Yeah, we're not sure. On
Mhm.
Boxing Day, this is why her vehicle was moved. So on Boxing Day, David drove to Coventry to pick up her BMW, drove it back to his house. Then the next day, on the 27th, he drove it to Lutton to dump it. Then took a taxi to a train station, got a ticket to the train back
Ew.
home. On the 29th, he returns to London to move her BMW one last time. This is David, Roger's brother. That is when he wiped down the entire car, got rid of the fingerprints, and that is when he forgot to push the car seat up. So he left the car seat back.
Right, right, right.
So that's kind of, yeah, his
Oh
fuck up,
my
which thank
God.
goodness. Then he goes back home, and his brother put her body into the towel, into the saran wrap, into the sleeping bag,
Right,
and
so there's
disposed of
no
her body.
Ben.
No Ben. Roger and David both had pre-dug this shallow grave in their allotment. So it was very
Oh my
premeditated.
God. I wonder how far in advance they did, considering they had been
They had
planning it and
planned.
tried a couple times
They had
already.
probably, yeah, and I'm assuming that throwing her in this shallow grave was the end game for every other time. So I'm
Right.
assuming they dug it probably at the beginning of November or in December, if not November.
Just curious, when did they have this piece of land for quite a while, or was this a
Yeah,
fairly recent
no,
thing?
no, it seems like they just kind of owned it. It was kind of, I guess, in their family.
Okay, okay. Wow, what a
But the
disgrace.
the fact that they had that weird sign up of hiding the bodies, have they done this before?
Yeah,
Probably
I
not
really
because
don't
they're
like that.
stupid. It's odd because they're obviously intelligent and they did a
Yeah.
lot of work to do this, but it's just the little things. And then it's
Right.
really weird that Roger had convinced David did pretty much everything.
And he wasn't even in the relationship with this woman. Nothing.
Yeah, so it kind of attests to how
Mhm.
manipulating Roger is, especially, he's
Oh,
got these
yeah.
three girls. Yeah, and he can even, who
He can
knows what
manipulate
he
like his
said.
I mean, and David's not by any means he has the willpower to make his own decisions, but it's just interesting that Roger could manipulate these women, keep a secret and keep his life moving, and then manipulate his own brother to not
Yeah, who knows
once,
what he's
not twice, but 3 times
three
go
times.
along with something so brutal and then
And
do all the work for him after?
do all the work, all the cleanup, and yeah, have so many
Oh yeah, and take
chances
the
to
fall for him.
and have so many chances to rethink this, but eventually actually
Yeah.
go through with it. One of Roger's girlfriends testified against him in court. The girlfriend who was the third, I guess, the one who reported to him at Costco. She testified against him in court, saying Roger once told her, "I'm a dangerous man if I'm backed into a corner and not to cross him," which is kind of a
Oh
gross
my
thing to say
god.
to your
Fuck
girlfriend.
off.
Gross side note, she called him Wolfie as a pet name,
Eee.
and he
Oh
called her sweet
god.
and innocent.
He called her that?
Yeah. I
That's
know,
enough,
it's so
guys.
now, outside court, senior investigating officer DCI Carolyn Marsh said, "I would say this is the most callous offense I've ever investigated. Most murders that occur are spontaneous events driven by anger or jealousy, whereas in
Mm.
this case, what was uncovered was weeks and weeks of planning to kill Sameena and a real unusual cause of death. We very rarely see chloroform homicides." Officers remained puzzled as to why David, who ran a cafe and also worked as a doorman, agreed to help kill a woman he had only ever met briefly. Marsh, she goes on to say, "It's a mystery to the investigation why David Cooper would do something like this for his brother, an extreme act to kill a woman he hardly knew."
Yeah, I really just don't understand that.
Yeah, so odd. The two brothers showed no sign of emotion during the
Ugh.
trial. Both Roger and David Cooper, who were 6'5", oh sorry, 6'5", not 6'4", 6'5" and 6'7" tall, remained calm and did not look at each other as they were unanimously convicted by the jury. So they
I'm
were
surprised they didn't even look at each other.
no, it was so weird. "This is sad from her family," her brother said. "I am forever reminded of her loss, with this constant trigger to memory of her life. Worse still, with
Mm.
triggers such as road signs for location, which I understand are linked to her death." And
Aw.
her dad said, "Their family is never going to be the same. He could talk for days about her. During the search, they were all praying together and hoping she would return home alive, holding on to any hope that police were wrong." He said, "It's hard for us to even imagine that an innocent, kind, beautiful girl would be murdered, let alone our daughter. We are
Aw.
still," oh, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
"We are still in, all right. We are still in shock and we are still missing her in so many ways. They will never be able to fully enjoy their life again. It's affected them to the point that their other children and grandchildren, they worry about them going out with people, thinking they won't be safe."
Of course.
He also said, "I worry about the world we live in and the risk that something similar could happen. God forbid, I have questions for those who did this. I fear these questions, these open wounds will never be answered, will never
Mm.
heal." And then the judge said, Jail Patrick
Mhm.
Thomas told the siblings, "The
Mhm.
use of poison in a case such as this demonstrates cold-blooded intention to kill, regardless of the consequences. You worked together hand in glove in planning and carrying out the murder of a joyful and bubbly young woman, brutally betrayed by a man she loved and his brother." The judge, who was told the plot to kill Sameena began in early December, said of the offense, "It was a long planned, deliberate murder of a young woman whose misfortune it was to have fallen in love with you, Roger Cooper. You killed a
Mm.
bright, selfless, ambitious, hardworking, and life-loving woman, a daughter, a sister, an aunt. Because that fact was inconvenient to you, you, Roger Cooper, took her to your brother's house. Exactly what happened there, you know, and no one else does. But I'm satisfied that hardly had she entered that house, that you two tall, strong men held her helpless, while one of you administered chloroform, probably in a cloth, into her face. And the judge sentenced them to at least 30 years in jail, which...
Sorry, is it 30 years and life, or is it just 30
No,
years?
it just, yeah. So in the UK, it's a bit different, I guess, but they were to at least 30 years. And that's all it said.
Oh my God. So they're probably
Jailed
not even
for
going to
at
spend that whole
least 30
time.
years. Yeah, well, I said at least, but I'm not sure. There was no, what's it called when you're up for parole? Oh, up for parole. There was no
Mhm.
mention of whether or not they would be up for parole, or if that's even a thing, or
Yeah.
what.
Oh, that makes me kind of frustrated.
Yeah, it seems light. And then
Right.
also jail, I don't know their if their terms are different, but
Right.
here jail is kind of a holding cell, whereas prison you're kind of locked up. Am I correct in saying
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure that totally makes sense.
So in the UK,
So,
jail must be prison? Because he said they were jailed up to 30 years. Even just saying jailed makes it seem like a lighter sentence
yeah, I
to me.
agree.
To my knowledge, they are still jailed because this happened. I mean, they were sentenced in August of 2015.
These
It is so
fucking
sad.
dicks. And it's just so confusing. First of all, is so much motive for Roger to do something like this.
Hmm.
But for David to being behind bars for, I want to say the rest of his life, but I guess 30 years, just because he was helping his brother, that is there stuff that happened that nobody knows about?
Or yeah, or is was he affected mentally while he was in the military and his brother
Yeah.
was taking advantage of him? We don't know.
That's very interesting because there is no logical reason. Yeah, he's your brother, but I wouldn't do that for my sisters.
Right? You're like
Like,
hard pressed to put their dishes in the sink.
yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's
That just does not
very
make sense.
strange, especially since he kind of had his shit together. He had one girlfriend. He was
Right.
39.
Oh yeah,
Had
throws his life away with her.
He was working at a cafe, part-time doorman.
And like I said, not once, not twice, 3 times he was like, "Yeah, I'll help you." And then he does all the work from Roger from there down to confessing himself and
And what
leaving
a
his brother
piece of
out. Like,
shit. Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, what a piece of shit brother, just to think it's fine for my brother to take the rap for this.
oh, 100%. Roger, I feel like he's just sitting there the whole time. Yeah, my brother will take care of it. I don't have to do anything.
And it was very much stated that he saw himself as very high,
Yeah.
and also that he didn't want to lose his job. So in his mind, I'm thinking he's like, well, I've got a job. I've got my shit together better than my brother. Like, brother, don't,
Oh my
like,
God, this
probably.
fucking loser sounds like he's very much me, 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 me. Anything that benefits me.
Hmm. Yeah,
Ugh,
this, yeah,
that is
like
crazy,
he's,
and I've never heard of this. And every time Christmas rolls around now, that's what their family has.
I know. And I read that Samina's family, they've had every Boxing Day, it was a big thing for them. They had a
Mm,
tradition every year, that a personal family tradition, where they would get
mm.
together and play games and have drinks and food and stuff. And Boxing Day was a
Oh,
huge thing
just like
for
a
them.
relaxing day.
It just goes to show how big Boxing Day was for them, because they were okay with her being away on Christmas to do whatever she wanted on Christmas
Yeah,
Eve.
no
But it was,
shit. As long as she was
yeah,
home for
but they were
that.
like, as long as you're home for our Boxing Day traditions, it'll be all good. It'll be just like normal. And yeah, he took her away from them on that
Oh
day.
my God. And then went about his own business with his almost wife. You imagine those women who were with him and they were like, holy shit, I've been sleeping next to somebody one was lying to me and sleeping with other women, but also murdered one.
Well, and I don't know if the one who testified against him knew about Samina, but she Sameena definitely knew about his live-in girlfriend. This one at Costco definitely knew about his live-in girlfriend, but his live-in girlfriend, his common law, she did not know from all accounts about his affair.
Jesus.
So she's learning about not one, but 2 affairs and then a murder on top
Like
of that.
triple whammy.
What?
Holy, I said triple whammy.
Triple whammy, yeah. I thought you said triple lannies. I was like, I don't know if you'd do that.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
Triple whammy. Yeah, no, yeah.
Triple
It's
whammy.
heartbreaking.
Oh
But
my
anyways,
gosh.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas
Merry Christmas.
to
Our
you. That's so sad. I'm sad.
And
I
it's sad.
hate
That was hard to
that.
read the impact statement. Sad. Oh, are we going to tell people where they can find us?
Yes, yeah. Well, on Instagram at Dark Narratives Podcast
Yeah.
and TikTok at Dark Narratives Podcast.
Yeah. So come check us out.
And also, if you do like it, give us a star review.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
that is super, super helpful. Or a follow or anything.
And that's it for this week.
Remember, it's a dark world out there.
See you, creatures, next week.